If everyone could just make sure they're muted when they enter the waiting room. Just gonna give it a moment and let the waiting room clear.
Yeah.
He did a few films
Again, if everyone could just make sure they're muted.
and he did a good job.
All right, and we're gonna get started. Good afternoon. This is a hearing before the Boston Cannabis Board, the BCB. Today is July 12th, 2023. Today's hearing is being conducted pursuant to certain temporary amendments to the open meeting law. This is what allows us to meet virtually. This hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I review some procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman Kathleen.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm Chair of the Boston Cannabis Board. Thank you for joining us today. I am joined by fellow commissioners, Commissioner Lisa Holmes, Commissioner John Smith, and Commissioner Gabe Camacho.
Thank you, Chairwoman Joyce. My name is Jasmine Nguyen, and I am the Boston Cannabis Board Manager. We are also joined by Allison Quinn, who is the Project Manager for the BCB. I will begin by reading each item into the record as they appear on the agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the proposal before us. We will begin with amendments to already approved licenses. So they will have 5 minutes each to present to the board, followed by questions from the board members. We will then move to new license applications where the applicants will have 10 minutes to present to the BCB, followed by questions from the board members. We will then take public testimony beginning with elected officials or their representatives, and then the general public. If you wish to testify, please sign up via the link that is put in the chat. If you have already signed up, you do not have to do it again. Additionally, you may use the chat function to request to testify as well. Please wait until the matter in which you would like to speak about is called. Do not use the chat function to give testimony. It will not be considered. Please state your full name and address and any affiliation, if any. Testimony will be limited to 2 minutes, at which time you will be muted. Additional testimony may be submitted in writing to cannabisboard@boston.gov. The record will be kept open until Tuesday, July 18th at 5 p.m. The BCB does not give any more weight to spoken testimony than it does written testimony. We will begin with the first item. The applicant is NSAJO Holdings, Inc., DBA Ethos Cannabis. The license premise is 50 Clapp Street, Dorchester. The license type is a co-located medical and retail recreational cannabis dispensary. The license request is to amend the operating hours from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday, to 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
I am Bradley.
Yeah, I'm sorry, broke up on my end, would you?
Kevin Bradley. I'm the area manager for Ethos, Massachusetts.
Okay, we're getting an echo. I don't know if you're next to someone or if there's a speaker issue.
I apologize. Is that better?
No, but we can hear you.
Okay.
But you may proceed. You have 5 minutes.
Cool. Share my screen. You able to see my screen?
Excuse me?
You able to see my screen?
No, so we're not sharing screens for this portion.
Okay, in that case, we are. My name is Kevin Bradley. I'm the area manager for Ethos Dorchester on. We have been operating since January of 2021. As of February of this year, we received our recreation or adult use license. As a result, we are seeing an uptick in customers and patients, and we are looking for an opportunity to extend the hours from that 7 o'clock closing time to 8 o'clock, 7 days a week. We're looking at the rural area. A lot of businesses in the South Bay Mall are open till 9, 10 o'clock. I'm looking at our local competition from a high-profile bodega and Pure Oasis are both open till 9 o'clock. Those are both cannabis, the two closest cannabis stores to us. And I think with the shift to recreational, we are requesting to have that the time amended to 8 o'clock.
Okay, we were a little choppy, but did the board members hear him?
I apologize.
That's okay, it's weird sounding. Anything additional you want to add, or?
I just think, we've been in the community for 2 years. We've got a great relationship with the local businesses around us, as well as the unions that surround us. And, I think for to better serve our community, it would be very helpful to be able to be open to that 8 o'clock time.
Nearby,
Just jump in. We can't really hear you. My only question right now is, did you state that you started operating in February of this year?
We've been operating as a medical facility for 2 years. We just got our adult use, so we're now co-located as of February.
Okay, so I think he said they've been operating as a medical facility since January 2021 and have been doing retail since February.
Correct.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Holmes, do you have any questions? Commissioner Camacho?
No questions.
Commissioner Smith?
No, thank you, Justin.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in regards to this proposal, beginning with elected officials or their representatives?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Ross Cochran with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Our office held an abutters meeting in late May of this year where no abutters were present for that meeting, but the local civic association has written a letter of support and has that on file. At this time, we'd like to defer to the board, to the judgment of this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. Any other elected officials or their representatives? Allison, did anyone sign up to testify on this matter?
No one signed up to testify on this matter, no.
Thank you. Anyone that would like to speak in regards to this matter before we move on to the next one? All right, seeing no one, we will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
The next item we have is the applicant is New Dia Fenway LLC. The licensed premises 48 Brookline Avenue, Fenway. The license type is the retail recreational cannabis dispensary license, and the license request is to add the DBA New Dia. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good afternoon, Ms. Nguyen. Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee, and with us, Ross Bradshaw, who is the owner operator of the licensee entity. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Attorney Quilty. You have 5 minutes. You may begin.
Thank you, ma'am. As indicated in the reading of the agenda, this is simply a request to utilize the DBA New Dia. This license was originally granted under the name New Dia LLC. We subsequently requested and were allowed to change the name of the location, the licensee, to New Dia Fenway LLC. And at neither time was a DBA suggested, if you will, and we would now like to utilize the DBA New Dia simply as a convenience to connect it to the name of the licensee. And that's really all that we have before you today.
Thank
Ross,
you.
do you have anything you want to add?
No, nothing further, Dennis. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Quilty. Do any other commissioners have any questions for this applicant or licensee?
No questions.
Seeing none, we will move to public testimony, beginning with elected officials or their representative. Is anyone from the elected officials or representative of an elected official that would like to speak?
It's like a cannabis hearing.
Seeing no one, Allison, did anyone sign up to speak on this matter?
They did not.
All right. But does anyone else wish to speak on regards to this matter? All right, seeing no one, the board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next item we have, the applicant is Fairway Botanicals Inc., DBA The Hippus. The license premise is 882 South Street, Rosendale. The license type is a retail recreational cannabis dispensary license. The license request is to change the corporate and DBA name from Fairway Botanicals Inc., DBA The Hempest, to Fairway Botanicals LLC, DBA Rosendale Cannabis Co. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good afternoon. I'm Mitch Rosenfield. I'm one of the owners, and I believe Rick Ovison is here as well. He's the other owner.
Good afternoon.
So the facility is at 882 South Street in Roslindale, and we're not yet operational. We're in the construction right now. And basically, it was just an advisement of an accountant and an attorney that LLC might be a little bit better structure. So we haven't been operational or anything, so it didn't seem to be too difficult to change at this point. So we just wanted to change that to LLC. And in terms of the name, I operate another dispensary under the Hempest, and it was just getting a little confusing between the different entities and having the same DBA name. So we thought that Rosendale Cannabis Co. sort of reflected the fact that we both live right here in Rosendale. We really want to make it sort of a neighborhood dispensary. So we were just hoping to go with that name change.
All right, thank you. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Holmes? Commissioner Camacho?
No,
Commissioner-
no question.
Commissioner Smith?
No, thank you, John.
All right, we will move to public testimony, beginning with any elected officials or their representatives. Seeing no one. Allison, did anyone sign up to testify?
No one.
All right, one more chance. Would anyone like to speak in regards to this proposal? Seeing no one, the board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
The next item we have, the applicant is Sarah Naturals DBA Air. The license premise is 827 to 829 Wilson Street, Back Bay. The license type is a retail recreational cannabis dispensary license. The license request is to amend the operating hours from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 Sunday, to 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week. Who is present on behalf of the license?
Hello, Jasmine. This is Dwan Packnett. Can you hear me?
You're a little low on our end.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, that's better.
You take off the earphone. Thank you, Jasmine, and thank you, members of the board, for the opportunity to appear before you. My name is Dwan Packnett, and I have been the Vice President of Government Relations and Community Investment at Sarah Naturals for nearly 4 years, and AIR's Senior Director of External Affairs in Massachusetts since March. Sarah Naturals, doing business as AIR, located at 827, 829 Boylston Street in Back Bay, is here to request an extension of our hours of operation until 11 p.m. This proposed 11 p.m. closing time is identical to the hours of operation recently approved for 2 neighboring Back Bay cannabis dispensaries. I'm sorry?
Sorry, Dawn, I was someone unmuted themselves.
Okay. So the proposed 11 p.m. closing time is identical to the hours of operation recently approved for 2 neighboring Back Bay cannabis dispensaries by the Boston Cannabis Board and the Zoning Board of Appeals this past spring. Joining me this afternoon are 2 of my colleagues, Kyle Ronellenfitch, AIR's Senior Vice President and Market General Manager, and Alicia DeAngelis, our AIR's Compliance Counsel. Sarah Naturals AIR entered into a host community agreement with the City of Boston in November 2021, and we opened our doors July 2022, the very first retail cannabis dispensary to do so in the Back Bay. We agreed to a closing time of 8 p.m. as 8 p.m. was the closing time preferred by the community in 2021. In truth, the cannabis market has changed enormously since 2021. Today, as the cannabis industry expands in Boston, there are far more options for consumers to shop at a time and place that is most convenient for them. Over the past year, we have learned that our customer demand peaks around 7 p.m., 1 hour before we close at 8. Because here at AIR, we are customer obsessed, AIR Back Bay is eager to meet customer expectations of quality and convenience by staying open until 11 p.m. to serve a sizable and very vocal portion of our customer base, having asked us for the convenience of expanded hours. Please know, AIR's request to stay open until 11 p.m. will not change our standards of operation, not one bit. Nothing will change with respect to the high level of security we enjoy at our Boylston Street store. AIR Back Bay is and will remain one of the most secure locations in the neighborhood. There will be no outdoor queuing. AIR will continue to perform regular security sweeps throughout the day, and our store is and will continue to be monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, a standard that will not change. AIR is most gratified by the work we do in and around Boston and the relationships we have established with local community groups like NAB and Back Bay Association, and our amazing UFCW Local 1445 union employees who, with expanded hours, will have more opportunities and flexibility to work. AIR Back Bay is our flagship store, so living in Boston and working in the Back Bay has been an extraordinary experience for employees like me. We thank the Back Bay community for its kindness and generosity and warm welcome, and AIR looks forward to continuing to serve Back Bay and Boston until 11 p.m. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dawn. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Holmes? Commissioner Camacho?
No questions.
Commissioner Smith?
No, thank you, Jasmine.
All right, we will move to public testimony, beginning with elected officials or their representatives.
Hello, Madam Chair, members of the board, Maggie Van Scoy from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We'd like to defer to the judgment of the board on this matter. To give you a bit of background on the community process for this, we held an abutters meeting on June 13th where no concerns were raised by abutters. The applicant also met with the Neighborhood Association of Back Bay in May of 2023. Additionally, the Back Bay Association has issued a letter in support, and our office has one letter of strong support from a Back Bay resident. We are unaware of any other concerns at this time, and we defer to the judgment.
Thank you, Maggie. Allison, did anyone sign up to testify?
I believe Madeline Cohen may have signed up, Boston Back Bay Association. Madeline, if you'd like to speak, feel free.
Yeah, I'm Madeline Cohen. I'm representing the Back Bay Association today, and we would just like to extend our support for AIR extending their business hours, as well as thank them for all that they have done to work with the community. So thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to provide testimony in regards to this matter? Seeing no one, the board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you. The next item we have, the applicant is East Boston Local Roots DBA East Boston Cannabis Co. The license premises 1006 to 1010 Bennington Street, East Boston. The license type is a retail recreational cannabis dispensary license. The license request is to amend the operating hours from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week to 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good afternoon. My name is Gregory Santos. I'm the general manager at East Boston Cannabis Company. And here with me, I have Ernesto Saliva, our AGM.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Yep, we're here today to request a change from our operational hours from 9 a.m. 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week, to 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Currently, we have been in operation since March 22nd of this year. We held a virtual community meeting for this proposal back on May 18th, and no one from the public attended. We've had nothing but positive feedback from the community. We're an extremely neighborhood focused shop, and we feel that with the extension of our hours, we can continue to serve our community in a safe and welcoming environment. Our peak times seem to be between 6 and 8, and every night we have to, we get the doorbell rung and we have to kind of turn people away. We're right across the street from the Orient Heights train. So a lot of people are still coming home from work and still trying to come in and shop with us, but we're not able to, meet their needs at this moment. I actually live directly next to the dispensary. I'm a East Boston resident myself. I have a really good pulse on what's going on in the neighborhood. And, I just feel like it'll be very good for the community if we can continue to stay open and allow them to come get their cannabis in a safe, welcoming environment. that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Holmes? Commissioner Camacho?
No questions.
Commissioner Smith?
No, thank you, Jasmine.
All right, we will move to public testimony with elected officials or their representatives.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. At this time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board. Some background information on the community process. As you heard from the applicant, our office held a community meeting on May 18th. There were no abutters that were in attendance. Later on, we did receive one letter in opposition, and they understand that the applicant was in contact with the local civic association, the Orient Heights Neighborhood Association. At this time, I'd like to defer to the judgment of this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Connor. Allison, did anyone else sign up to testify?
No, not for this applicant. Thank you.
All right, is there
Good
anyone?
afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Sebastian Parr from Councilor Coletta's office. The councilor has heard no opposition on this and would like to show her support for them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to provide testimony? All right, seeing no one, the board will take this matter.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item we have is Verdant Reparative Inc., DBA Apex Noir, licensed premises 150 State Street downtown. The license type is a retail recreational cannabis dispensary and manufacturing. The license request is to amend the operating hours from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week to 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
I am, my name is Tito Jackson, and I'm the owner of Apex Noir. We are Verdant Reparative Inc. We do business as Apex Noir. Thank you so much, Jasmine. I also want to thank the board, Madam Chair, as well as the board for the opportunity to be here today. We are here to request an extension of hours. Our current hours are 10 to 9, and would like to request an extension of hours until 11 p.m. 7 days a week. We have been operating since the end of January without incident, and we are in an area that has a pretty dense population of businesses that are open past us, and would like to make sure that we are taking care of our customers. We have spoken to many of the business owners, as well as met with the Wharf District Council, as well as our abutters. So the request is for an extension of hours until 11 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Commissioner Holmes? Commissioner Camacho?
No questions.
Commissioner Smith?
No questions. Thanks, Jasmine.
All right, we will move to public testimony, beginning with any elected officials or their representatives.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board. I think there's a bit of an echo there. Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman, Office of Neighborhood Services. At this time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board. Some background information on the community process. ONS hosted an abutters meeting on May 23rd. There were no comments or concerns from abutters, and the applicant went on to connect with the Wharf District Council, which issued a letter of support, which I believe the board should have access to. With that, we're unaware of any concerns and will defer to the board at this time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam of the Chair, members of the board. Ana Calderon from Council President Flink's office. The councilor would like to go on record in support. He provided a support letter to the board. As you may know, this is 100% Black-owned business and has nearly 100 years of combined experience in business and management. And it was the first equity application for a cannabis dispensary being considered in the downtown area. Apex North has proven to be a good neighbor during its time of operation, and we have received no opposition to the change of hours. And this request has also been received with open arms in the community, and the Water District Council has provided a support letter as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Is there anyone else that would, well, Allison, did anyone sign up to testify?
No, we didn't have anyone sign up online.
Is there anyone else that would like to provide testimony in regards to this matter? Seeing no one, the board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item we have is 617 Therapeutic Healthcare Inc., DBA 617 THC. The license premise is 144 Bowden Street in Dorchester. The license type is a retail recreational cannabis dispensary license. The license request is to amend the operating hours from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday, and noon to 6 on Sunday, to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday, and noon to 6 p.m. on Sunday. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Hi, Jasmine. Pete D'Agostino on behalf of 617 THC.
Great, you have 5 minutes, you may begin.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Joining me is Rich Jin, one of the owners for 617 THC, as well as Ka Wong, counsel for the organization. The good team at the board realized that when we submitted our request to commence operations, that the hours of operation did not include Friday when they were put through. So unfortunately, it got submitted during the application overview to the board. It was a typo that got carried forward. We did go back and review the public record just to determine, what we had told the board. So just so the board has what we told the community. So we reviewed the presentation given to the during the community outreach meeting. We reviewed the Office of Neighborhood Services public notice for the community outreach meeting. We reviewed all of the discussion, comments, and questions during the September 22nd, 2021 hearing, as well as the presentation that we gave during that hearing. We also reviewed all of the discussion, comments, and questions during a hearing before this board on November 12th, 2020, as well as that presentation. And believe it or not during any of those times did the hours of operations come up. It was never discussed. So it was simply a typo that was submitted that didn't get caught. But it was on the voting agenda, so we thought it was appropriate to come back before the board. It would require an amendment to our HCA, obviously, but we're not seeking to expand the hours that we had originally discussed. We're just adding Friday. Friday got left off of the host community agreement. Hopefully that's a change that we could be able to make to add Friday back on with the same hours that we originally proposed. And I suspect that after we operate for some time, we'll reconsider what hours need to be, but we didn't want to expand the hours at this time. We just wanted to correct the record to have Friday included. And I'll make one other note: the Cannabis Control Commission public record, as well as the notice to the city of Boston that was sent from the Cannabis Control Commission, both reflected the Friday hours. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Jasmine for any questions from the board.
Thank you. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
I have no questions. Just I appreciate you going through all the testimony to confirm what happened. I have no issues.
Commissioner Holmes?
No, same. I appreciate him coming back just to clarify that little technical glitch. No questions.
Commissioner Camacho?
No questions.
Commissioner Smith?
No questions. Thank you, Jasmine.
All right, we will begin public testimony, beginning with any elected officials or their representative.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, Connor Newman with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. This time, the Mayor's Office would like to defer to the judgment of this board. Some background information on the community process. The applicant went through an extensive ONS-led community process, connecting and working with community stakeholders to address concerns that they had and work with them to improve the proposal. We're unaware with any concerns regarding this change for hours of operation. As discussed, this was a part of the original proposal when going through the community process. With that, we'll defer to the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Connor. Allison, did anyone sign up to testify?
They did not.
Is there anyone else that would like to provide testimony? All right, seeing no one, the board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you. All right, we will now move to our new license applications. The first item we have is Community Growth Partners LLC, DBA Rebel. The proposed license premises 591 Albany Street, Roxbury. The license type is a co-located medical and recreational retail cannabis dispensary license. The proposed hours of operation are 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. This is a non-equity applicant. They initially filed the application April 7th, 2023. They filed with Inspectional Services on February 16th, 2023. And the community meeting took place on May 8th, 2023. Who is present on behalf of the licensing?
Thank you very much, Ms. Nguyen. My name is Leslie Delaney Hawkins. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. With me today is Charlotte Hannah, who is one of the owners of the proposed new ownership entity, as well as my colleague Phil Silverman from the law firm Vicente. If it is okay, could I share my screen, please?
Yep, you can share your screen and you have 10 minutes.
Right. Thank you very much again, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. We greatly appreciate your time today. By way of background, this is an existing medical cannabis establishment located at 591 Albany Street in the South End, previously operated or currently operated under the name Liberty Compassion Inc., doing business as Affinity. What we're here before you today is an expansion of the ownership group, as well as the change in the entity holding the license and the request for the addition of adult use to co-locate at this site. There are no proposed changes to the operations besides adding that adult use, including the hours of operation of 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. There's also no construction associated with this application. So the proposed new operators, and Charlotte Hannah from Rebel here, is Community Growth Partners. We will be doing business, if approved, under the doing business as of Rebel. This change in ownership has actually already been approved by the CCC, as has the new doing business as. Currently, Rebel is operating in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, and has conducted over 100,000 compliant transactions. This is a vertically integrated woman-owned company who's incredibly committed to ensuring equity and whose drive is to ensure that those disproportionately impacted by the failed war on drugs are really integrated into the industry and have an opportunity. This slide shows you the look and feel of the Great Barrington location, which once the rebrand, if approved, will be undergone. This is the sort of aesthetic that we'll be looking at for this location. Again, there are no changes to the actual layout or construction associated. As detailed in the application overview that we submitted, Rebel is incredibly committed to not just being a good neighbor, but actually giving back to the community. So to that end, we are committing to continuing 125 hours per year of volunteer community service to either South End nonprofits or other groups that support equity in the cannabis industry. This is something that our partners at Affinity have been doing since they commenced operation several years ago. We will also continue to provide donations to local organizations, including the Neighborhood Association. To date, Affinity has contributed over $70,000 in charitable donations to the South End area and their organizations. Additionally, we have committed at least 20% of our shelf space to businesses owned by those disproportionately impacted by the failed war on drugs. And that would include minorities, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, LGBTQ plus businesses, and any business owned by an individual with a nonviolent quarry. Currently, at this location, we have 10 employees. We're going to be continuing with those employees and anticipate adding approximately 5 additional employees. It will be a mix of full and part-time. 90% of our existing staff identify as diverse, and 50% are Boston residents. We anticipate between 7 and 8 staff members per shift, and we're committed to maintaining these metrics. 50% of employees, Boston residents, with an emphasis on those living in the immediate area. At least 75% of employees to identify as minorities, women, or non-binary, and at least one employee who is an individual with a drug-related nonviolent worry. This slide reviews the recruiting strategies about how we accomplish meeting these goals, including working with groups such as the Office of Returning Citizens, working with the neighborhood associations and other organizations in the community to ensure that any job posting is distributed to those target audiences. One of the things we want to make clear if we are approved for adult use co-located at this establishment is that our medical patients are going to be the priority. There are 7 existing point of sale locations. That is not going to change, but a number of those will be dedicated specifically to our medical customers. We will also have a dedicated private consulting room for those patients. And if necessary, we can transact in that room. We're going to require each patron, whether they're medical or recreational, to sign a pledge to be a good neighbor. And that will include, among other things, committing to adhere to all of the regulations of the BCB, the CCC, and all of the laws as they pertain to cannabis in the Commonwealth. Very specifically, we will focus on public consumption and the fact that public consumption is not only frowned upon, it is illegal. And any patron who is publicly consuming will be banned from the establishment. We will also provide a 24/7 phone number so that residents, other stakeholders in the neighborhood, anyone who has a question or concern can always reach someone in real time. We have conducted an extensive community outreach. When Affinity was approved for medical use previously, the Zoning Board of Appeal did put a proviso on that stated to this petitioner only, as well as that we would have to return to the Zoning Board of Appeal if we were proposing adult use. This was obviously predating the Boston Cannabis Board. So if we are approved for the change in ownership and the proposed co-location of adult use, we will return to the Zoning Board of Appeal. As this physical building was zoned for cannabis by the ZBA, we actually create the half-mile buffer zone. So there is not a half-mile buffer zone variance required. We have had a number of meetings before the Blackstone Franklin Square Neighborhood Association and received a letter of support, non-opposition. We held a community impact meeting sponsored and facilitated by the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, met with City Council President Ed Flynn, whose office provided a letter of support, and have also conducted additional outreach, including reaching out to the district police captain and having conversation with other stakeholders in the neighborhood. This just provides an idea of the location. It, in our experience, has been that our patrons and our employees frequent the establishment either using public transportation, bikes, or by foot. Given the proximity of blue bike stations, public transportation, and the neighborhood itself, we anticipate that to continue if adult use were to be added. There is also metered parking immediately in front of the establishment and multiple garages in walking distance. Currently, we have a robust security program that goes above and beyond the requirements of the CCC. This includes 14 interior and 2 exterior security cameras, which are operational 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in full compliance with the CCC requirements. We also have redundant security systems regarding our alarms, any alert systems, and any of our locking mechanisms. And we will obviously continue to utilize all of these security measures. And with that, we are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
I was just trying to scan the floor plan. Can you describe, are you expanding the space or are you turning some of the current medical, how's it working? Like, are you adding more space, more shelves for retail?
Nope, so there will not be any construction. There is no expansion of the space. We will utilize existing shelves. The displays will all be the same, given that we are going to rebrand and do some cosmetic work. The addition of the adult use will simply be that other types of patrons are allowed in pursuant to all the security regulations. But of the 7 existing point of sale systems, we are going to dedicate a number of those to medical only, and we're currently in discussions about what that number would look like.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Holmes?
No questions. I was confused when we didn't have a buffer zone, and then I just during Ms. Hawkins' presentation realized that this was already the existing location, and they're changing names. So no, doesn't look like they're doing anything but just adding recreation to their already established place. So no questions.
Commissioner Camacho?
No questions here.
Commissioner Smith?
All right, Jasmine, thanks. Yeah, two. Ms. Hawkins, a little bit explain how you said they get $70,000 to like nonprofits. Like, how are they advertising their requests? Like, who are they reaching out to?
So the current operators worked with the neighborhood association to identify where those funds would go. Obviously, we want to defer to the people who are in the community about how they would like those funds to be distributed, but with a focus on nonprofits and South End based organizations.
So they're not disseminating widely, it's just kind of amongst themselves and.
Correct.
Okay. Second question is, in terms of your diversity numbers, you say they're 90%, like it's diverse, but can you a little bit more break that down? Like how many African Americans or Black you're working there, or?
So we can provide a more specific breakdown. Currently, 90% of our employees identify as minorities, women, or non-binary. We can absolutely get you more of a specific breakdown.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Jasmine.
All right, we will move to public testimony, beginning with any elected officials or their representatives.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Kim Crucioli from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. Our office would like to defer to the board at this time. Our office held a meeting in May of 2023 where the applicant received support from the Blackstone Franklin Neighborhood Association, and abutters expressed that they've been a good neighbor operating as a medical dispensary, and they're confident that they will continue to be good neighbors if the retail license is granted. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam of the Chair, members of the board. Ana Calderon from Council President Flynn's office. The councilor would like to go in record in support. The proponents have conducted a true community process with the Blackstone Franklin Neighborhood Association supporting this proposal. Blackstone Franklin Neighborhood Association has noted that in addition to serving its customers based and providing employment and tax revenue, the dispensary is a source of activation for a stretch of Albany Street that lacks the shops, restaurants, and foot traffic characteristics of much of the neighborhood. Its current operator has also invested heavily in repairs and upgrades to its building, and its staff conducts regular cleanups of the area in front of the store and the blocks around it. The community is hopeful that they can continue this positive relationship with community growth partners. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Allison, did anyone sign up to testify?
We didn't have anyone sign up to testify for this application.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to provide testimony? All right, seeing no one, the board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item we have is HVV Massachusetts Inc., DBA Happy Valley. The proposed license premise is 1955 Beacon Street, Brighton. The license type is a co-located medical and recreational retail dispensary license. The proposed hours of operation are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. This is a non-equity applicant. They initially filed February 28, 2023. They filed with Inspectional Services October 13, 2022. And the community meeting was held on May 2nd, 2023. There is a buffer zone conflict with another cannabis establishment. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners of the Board, Attorney Jeff Drago with Drago and Toscano, with the business address of 11 Beacon Street. Also with me, I have the CEO of HVV Mass Inc., Michael Reardon, and our Director of Security and Compliance, John Gray, who will be able to answer any questions that folks may have. Mary Kate Campbell from my office is also here. Are we able to share the screen, Jasmine? Is that okay? Okay, great. Mary Kate, if you could pull up the presentation, please. Again, thanks, members of the board, for having us here today. As was mentioned, we are seeking a new license for a location for a co-located medical and recreational retail dispensary located at 1955 Beacon Street in the Brighton neighborhood. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. No, next slide. Sorry. Thank you. So this particular location at 1955 Beacon Street is located in the Cleveland Circle commercial district of Brighton. This is an ideal location, we feel, because it is in a neighborhood shopping district. It's surrounded by many commercial stores and restaurants. There's a office building behind us, a CVS pharmacy right about 100 feet away, and many other local businesses. It also has great public transportation access. We are located 235 feet away from the Green Line Station for line C and D, making this great for public modes of transportation. We also have two bus routes, the 51 route and the 86 route, 500 feet away, which makes this ideal for those folks that would not be driving into this particular location. I just want to touch upon, and the board may remember, we did appear and were approved for a license back in November of 2020 by this board for a location and a recreational dispensary at 1937 Beacon Street, which is about 100 feet away on the same side and on the same area of Cleveland Circle. We were approved by the Boston Zoning Board of Appeal as well. We did get appealed by a commercial neighbor when we were going through the process after our zoning hearing. In that time frame, we worked with that direct commercial neighbor to find what we feel, and we believe the community feels, is a better location located 100 feet away. So one, although we do meet the 500 feet of a school providing kindergarten or 1 through 12, we are in compliance. The reason why, and I just want to explain that to the board, we would be within a half mile of the location that we were already approved from at 1937 Beacon Street. If the board saw fit to approve us for a license at this location, we would terminate all rights after, if we were approved by the zoning board, for the location at 1937 Beacon Street. So we would only be pursuing this one particular location, just to be clear. As we worked with that neighbor, we felt this is a much more ideal location. And the reason being, everything is the same. It's the same neighborhood, the same area. It's a commercial district. However, the biggest issue that we heard was parking. The other site did not provide parking on site. This new site, which was formerly the Dunkin' Donuts in Cleveland Circle, has 13 on-site parking spaces, and it's located directly to 2-hour parking and metered spaces. All of our drop-off, pickup, delivery could all be housed on our own site at 1955 Beacon Street, which we feel is ideal for the community. We'll get to that a little bit further in the presentation. Next slide, please. And this just highlights some of what I just mentioned. On-site parking, you can see that is 13 spaces that would be provided. We also have metered parking, 87 spaces within this Cleveland Circle area. There's also 2-hour parking, and I had already mentioned the proximity to the bus and MBTAT station right across the street. Next slide, please. Just to give the board our community outreach and support timeline, we attended a meeting at the BAIA in May of 2023, and we're happy to get their support. And I know they submitted, the group submitted a letter to the board as well. We also hosted a community meeting in May of 2023 by ONS, Neighborhood Services. We met with Councilor Braden in May of 2023, and her office submitted a letter of opposition. We also discussed this proposal in detail with both Representative Michael Moran and Kevin Honan, and they also submitted a joint letter of support to the board as well. We also submitted neighborhood support from some direct abutters. Michael Ageros, the manager of Circle Ventures and the owner of 1927 Beacon Street. And then also Reservoir Wine and Spirits, which is a local merchant, also submitted a letter of support. Next slide, please. I just want to touch upon some of our diversity and inclusion plan for HVV. One, committed to recruit and hire diverse employees to reflect the Brighton census data for diversity, and that's 02135. Creating gender neutral job descriptions, local hiring events posted on the web, recruitment platforms. We also committed to attend community group meetings with an emphasis on those affiliated with the cannabis industry. Committed to working with the minority business enterprises for supplemental business services, and we meet and exceed the Boston Jobs and Living Wage Ordinance. 4, committed to working with all of our community leaders with a focus of hiring minority and individuals from communities impacted by the war on drugs, and a minimum of 2 hiring events and opportunities within the community specifically with those individuals. Next slide, please. Just to point out, there's no position at HVV paying less than $18 an hour. They're committed to recruit locally and utilizing both our store location and Zoom platforms to host all interviews. And as I had mentioned and stressed upon, we are located directly within short walking distance to both the bus line and the MBTA transportation, which is accessible to all Boston resident employees. Next slide, please. We're going to touch upon briefly our security plan, and John is here if there's any more detailed questions that I do not touch upon. But one, for this building security, there will be video surveillance, motion detection, glass break detection, hold up alarms, duress codes, door contacts, and panic buttons on this location. 24/7 system monitoring by our third party. Restricted areas will be equipped with electronic door locks that's accessible only by RFID, card, or PIN. All exterior doors, windows, and vaults will be equipped with alarms. We have approximately 50 cameras that will be recording both the interior and the exterior, 24/7 monitoring by our third party. Each employee is issued an RFID card with access specifically pertaining to that employee's job duties. And loss prevention techniques are implemented to deter theft and to identify any person engaging in a diversion. All vendors and service contractors will be escorted during their entire visit by staff. Next slide, please. Again, to touch upon staffing, there will be 3 to 4 security associates per shift, 8 full-time security associates and a security manager. And there would be 2 shifts per day from 7:30 a.m. To 30 minutes after closing time, they would remain. Security associates' responsibility, so that's to monitor the video surveillance and equipment, monitor the showroom and dispensary activity, and then finally monitoring the exterior perimeter of the building, just because we hear about things like to prevent loitering and any kind of on-site consumption, which those folks would be monitoring. Next slide, please. And then most importantly, protecting youth from accessing the product. So just to go through the process a little bit, agent would meet the customer in the entry vestibule through the front along Beacon Street, verify the customer's age using the Age ID license scanner. Agents would be trained to identify any fake IDs. If a customer is younger than 21 but 18 or older, he or she would be admitted with an active medical registration card only. If a customer is younger than 18, he or she must produce an active medical registration card and be accompanied by a personal caregiver with an active medical registration card. Next slide, please. Just in terms of cash pickup, so in this photo on the right, that's the existing structure. And so this particular location has the existing building as the former Dunkin' Donuts. That building would remain. All of the work would be done in the interior and then on the exterior facade, but the building structure would not be built out or up upon at all. We would have, you can see there is a back door that would be used specifically by staff and could house all of our deliveries. And as I had mentioned, those vehicles could come onto the site directly, so they're not be taking up any public parking or public street access. You can see where it says secure receiving door. 2 to 3 times per week, Plymouth Armor Group would transfer cash from the dispensary to a financial institution, and that's where the location of that door would remain. Product delivery, so all of the vehicles that would be delivering the cannabis product are unmarked and use randomized routes and schedules. Vehicles would be equipped with lock security cargo areas, GPS, and live streaming camera system. Security agents would monitor while the product is transferred in secure boxes from the truck into the secured storage area. Next slide, please.
Attorney Draco, that is
Yeah.
your minutes if you want to just briefly wrap up.
Yep, and so this is just the floor plans, just so the board can see. In the basement, that would house bathroom, break room, security office, and management office. That would just be for staff. And then the first floor, that's the entry vestibule. That would have check-in, showroom, sales counter, and private consult and security area. And then the next slide just shows the board, if we could go on to that, the layout and site plan with all of our, next slide, please. All of our parking, and just to point out, and working with the community, all of this area would be completely, there'd be a lot of new landscape. Right now, that's all hot top. We committed in working with the community and the BAIA committed to landscape and putting greenery in that back area as well. I know my time is up, so I can pause now and answer any questions that the board may have, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions? If you can stop sharing your screen.
Thank you for that presentation. I don't have any questions at this time. I will reserve the right to ask some questions after additional public testimony.
Commissioner Holmes?
I do. Good afternoon, sir. This is a huge college area. So what are you going to do to mitigate some false IDs? You know, we're going to have a lot of international students. There's going to be a lot of scammers trying to get in. I hate to say it, but so what types of protocols are you going to use to mitigate some of that? Because unfortunately, we know people will try.
Thank you, Commissioner. Great question. And in the presentation, there were some quick highlights about ID scanning technology, as well as our trained staff, but I'm going to defer to John Gray, our security professional, that can answer that better equipped than me.
Hello, Commissioner. My name is John Gray, and apologies, I'm getting some feedback here.
There you go.
And we have had some issues with people trying to get into our dispensaries with false IDs. And as the presentation said, we do have we do utilize electronic license scanners. And because we're so close to these college campuses, we will have a policy written into our SOPs that an out-of-state license with an individual that could be under 21 years old is going to have to provide a second form of ID, such as a passport card, any of the acceptable forms of ID that's set forth by the Cannabis Control Commission.
Okay, yeah, because yeah, you have a big you do have a big population, and you probably will have a lot of international students and customers trying to get in. So that would be my biggest concern, is that you make sure that you have those scanners that can both read the international licenses and passports, as well as our local and state local and United States licenses, because I'm sure we're going to have a lot of people trying you.
Absolutely, we're no stranger to the fake IDs.
Right.
We have a slew of
Thank you.
fake
That was
IDs.
it. Yep. Let me just ask you a question. Are there any, because I don't know if you've noticed, and I only noticed this because I just got a new passport. The page on your passport now that has your picture is actually plastic. And I'm wondering if they have readers for those, like scanners for that page.
They do have readers. They do have scanners that are capable of reading passports. We don't technically use that. If you do have a passport and there is a question, if you're under 21, you have to have a second form of ID. And we can scan, if you have the new passport card nowadays, we can actually scan a passport card, because that does have the barcode on the back of it.
Oh, okay, great. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Commissioner Camacho?
I don't have a question, but I do have a general comment that I'll do some research on. I don't believe international students are allowed to buy legal marijuana in the United States, but I'll look into that. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, thanks, Jasmine. You were saying that all of your positions, no less than $18 an hour, and then what do they go up to?
Michael Reardon can best answer that. Michael, I think you're muted if you can unmute.
Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. So the question again, I got sidetracked.
Yeah, just the range of your.
Oh, the range of the rates, right. So the lowest hourly rate is 18. Our hourly rates range from $18 an hour to $28 an hour, up to the salary positions, which is in management, start at 75,000 and can get as high as 95,000, depending on the role.
Mhm. Second question is, you talked about working with, for your supplemental business services, some MBEs. Have you identified, like, what other services are you hiring for?
I didn't catch the question.
What other services do we have dealing with the MBEs?
It's our delivery services. So obviously every location when it comes to delivery is subject to getting that worked out with the third-party delivery operations, but we are already doing delivery through a local MBE at our East Boston location. So we would continue to move forward in that same capacity for Brighton, if we're lucky. Yep.
So just for the delivery side?
Just for the delivery side?
That's currently what we have right now for our third-party services with MBA. Correct. That's the only thing that we actually had an opportunity to do a business with right now out of our current operations in East Boston. But we're always looking, always open and always interviewing and discussing those opportunities with the folks when they reach out and when we find them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions, or you want to wait till public testimony is?
I'm okay for now. I appreciate my fellow commissioners' questions.
Okay, we will move to public testimony, beginning with elected officials or their representative.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Frank Mendoza here with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, Austin Brighton Liaison. At this time, our office would like to defer to the judgment of the board. Some background on the community process. So we had our butters meeting for 155 Beacon Street on May 6th. We had a number of abutters in attendance. The primary concerns that were raised at that meeting were surrounding security, parking, crime, proximity to the park and the reservoir, and Riley Memorial Rink and pool, as well as proximity to young people overall, and the general question of whether or not this was an appropriate establishment for Cleveland Circle. Our office also received a number of letters of opposition, which the board should have on file as well. Of those letters, 9 of them were sent by individuals with addresses or business addresses in Cleveland Circle. 4 of them had addresses associated with the larger Brighton neighborhood, and 7 of them had no addresses attached to them at all. For letters of support, the Brighton Olson Improvement Association sent a letter which the board should have also on file in support of the proposal before you. I believe that their zoning chair, Annabella Gomes, is also on to testify. Additionally, I'm also aware of some opposition from Boston College. I believe William Mills is on to testify on their behalf as well today. Regarding elected officials, Councilor Braden's office has not taken a position. They are taking a stance of non-opposition to this project. And State Representative Moran's office, that's Mike Moran, has taken a position of support. At this time, we'd like to defer to the judgment of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other elected officials or their representatives that would like to speak? Seeing none. Allison, did anyone sign up to testify?
We did have some folks sign up to testify. Thank you, Jasmine. Would Cheryl Weinstein of Cleveland Circle like to provide testimony?
Yes, thank you. I'm here to express opposition to this site. A minority member of Cleveland Circle was turned down for a cannabis dispensary because it was too near a public swimming pool and skating rink. But now a large corporation is in the process of being improved near the same skating rink and swimming pool and less than 500 feet from Cassidy Park, where children under 5 and their families congregate, where children and young people from all over Boston come to play baseball and soccer. It's a major site for youth soccer. It's near Boston College and the Chestnut Hill Reservoir. Neuroscience research by Dr. Yasmin Hurd, HURD of Mount Sinai Medical Center, contradicts the Happy Valley website. Cannabis damages the brain of young people ages 14 to 30, 3-0. Newton turned down a cannabis store near a public park. And I sincerely do not think that the brains of Newton children are more valuable than the brains of Boston children and young adults. I urge you to postpone this vote and also to study the neuroscience, the new neuroscience of cannabis. I'm glad to pass it on to you, to measure what is 500 feet from the store to Cassidy Park. Currently, the signs at Cassidy Park say no alcohol. If you approve this site, it's going to need, the signs will need to say no children under 5, no young families, no cannabis, no alcohol. Dr. Hurd again says, when she was at Harvard Law School, what is more dangerous, cannabis, cocaine, or heroin? And she responded, and the young brain, it's like jumping from the 10th floor or the 5th floor of a building. Which one is better? I urge you not to let this go forward. It's a serious public health error. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is Diane Ring available to provide testimony?
Yes, thank you. I'm Diane Ring at 300 Clinton Road, speaking in opposition of Happy Valley's request to move from 1937 to 1955 Beacon Street. So as I understand it, they are already approved for 1937, and that is a done approval. I would like to articulate that 1955 is not merely a few feet difference, and if they've got one, get the other. Larger location, the parking, which sounds like a positive, in fact, changes the dimension of this site. It can be advertised and promoted as something with easy parking, come and get it here. It moves it away from being a neighborhood site, which has been the theme of the other presentations today, into something that's easily attractive to those coming from outside the neighborhood. And then you have the additional issue that was just described in Ms. Weinstein's testimony, as well as Mr. Mendoza, in terms of the location with the playing fields, the rinks, and the college. The opportunity for people to be coming, buying, and reselling illegally escalates it. So it's a very different kind of site than even just a few doors down. And so I take that one to be a given, but the new one is more problematic. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ring. Is Mr. Mills available if you would like to proceed?
Hi, thank you. I want to thank the commissioners for allowing me to provide testimony to the board. My name is Bill Mills. I'm the Director of Community Affairs at Boston College. And I'm here to oppose the application of Happy Valley to change the location of their retail establishment to the site of the former Dunkin' Donuts. This new location is a standalone building, and it's very, very prominent in the Cleveland Circle area. Happy Valley is currently approved to do business at the site of the former Mary Ann's Bar. It's a less prominent and more discreet location, and it's already been approved. As you may know, we have a lot of underage students from Boston College that shop and patronize the restaurants in the area. Additionally, this is an area that is also very heavily frequented by Brookline High School students. As was just talked about, you know, the DCR operates a swimming pool and skating rink in the area, which attracts many underage users. And the city of Boston also operates a park in the area. So for those reasons, I would ask that you deny the request to change the location of the former Dunkin' Donuts site. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Eva Webster, if you would like to proceed with testimony, please feel free.
Yes, thank you. My name is Eva Webster and I am a local resident for 30 years already. Just around the corner from Cleveland Circle. I have been very active in the community, in the neighborhood, and know many neighbors here who have always been concerned about the character of Cleveland Circle. You know, it would take a long time to list various problems that we've been having there, but we have made some progress. You know, Cleveland Circle has improved. There has been some great developments, the waterworks, the cinema site, where we have long-term residents who care about their quality of life. And I agree with everything that my predecessor said. This company has already been approved for running a marijuana store at 1937 Beacon Street, and all the benefits that they are promising in terms of paying decent wages and so on, and hiring the diverse employees and so on, that would still apply to 1937 Beacon Street. But for us, it's really important that this use is not moved to this much larger, much prominent, much more visible building, which is at 1955 Beacon, because this is a retail location that really defines Cleveland Circle. And we really need some more community and family-oriented uses. We are resigned to the fact that Cleveland Circle is going to have a marijuana store, but we feel very strongly that having the store at the former Mary Ann's location would be more beneficial for the neighborhood. It would be more discreet, as Bill Mills said, and it would be less visible to the young people, most of them underage, who practice all kinds of sports in Cassidy Playground. There are regular baseball, football practice.
Ms. Webster, that was your 2 minutes.
Thank you, Jasmine. There is no one else signed up to provide testimony online. Thank you.
Ms. Gomes, I see you have your hand raised.
Members of the board, Annabelle Gomes, zoning chair for the Brighton Austin Improvement Association. We had originally supported the location that they were previously approved at. And they did come to the BIA and we did support the change of this location, mostly for the fact that they are a good operator with a good track record. And we think it's crucial to have a good operator in Cleveland Circle that will be able to address the issues of IDs, underage, and everything. So it's very important to have a good operator. We also feel that they have committed to greening the area, which is very important. Right now, it is an asphalt desert, and to actually take a couple parking spaces and make it green and add around will actually beautify the area. They did commit to making a mural at the choice of the community on a wall if available. But the property having parking is important because this is a medical dispensary and they will have handicapped people, which will need off-street parking to drive into, and this location will provide it. It will also provide the ability to have their delivery cars off-street instead of double parking on Beacon Street, which it would be a problem and was an issue for us at that time. So with that, we'd like to go and support. Thank you.
And I just add that the Brighton Olson Improvement Association doesn't represent our neighborhood. We have a group called Aberdeen Brighton Residents Association, and this applicant never came to us.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to provide testimony? Do the board, any other board members have any additional questions for the applicant? Nope. Okay, thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you very much, members of the board.
Moving on to our next item, we're gonna move on to old and new business. The applicant is Pure Oasis LLC, DBA Pure Oasis. The license premise is 85 Devonshire Street, downtown. The license type is a retail recreational cannabis dispensary. And this is to finalize license conditions as set forth in the licensee's host community agreement. Is the licensee on? Kobe?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry, Jasmine. I'm here.
And Rose Foreman, I see you from the bid. Okay, good. Kobe, would you like to?
Hi, I'm here. Michael Nichols will be our
Okay.
president. Thank you.
Kobe, would you like to make a statement before?
Yeah, I just want to make a statement. We were approved for an HCA agreement, working with our attorney Alexis, and she worked directly with the bid to come up with some restrictions that were placed on our HCA. We opened on June 1st, and it was immediately evident that we were having some difficulty in retaining customers with the restrictions, because customers would come in. They would see the posting that there was a minimum purchase dollar amount, and they would immediately turn around and say that they're going to Ascend or the other neighboring dispensaries. At this time, we're looking to potentially modify those restrictions, because they are placing a burden on our business, in as much as there are competing dispensaries within walking distance of our new location. To this date, we've been open since June 1st, and business has been not as expected, to the point that we are not generating enough revenue to cover our rent and our payroll, especially with those restrictions placed on us that aren't placed on neighboring dispensaries like Apex and Ascend. Customers easily come into the store and then again turn around and go to other locations that don't have restrictions. In the next coming days, if I'm not mistaken, there's going to be another dispensary opening within walking distance. There's a fourth dispensary under construction as we speak, and a fifth dispensary was recently approved in the Faneuil Hall area. With this added competition, unless the restrictions are placed on all dispensaries, it creates a disadvantaged situation where Pure Oasis and the Cannabis are subject to restrictions, versus the other dispensaries in the walking area aren't. And so customers tend to go where there aren't these restrictions, especially a lot of our customers who support us have a limited income. And so they want to come in and spend $15 on a pre-roll versus having to spend $35 to $40 just to, support our business. And so we wanted to see about modifying the HCA. Thank you.
Thank you, Kobe. Michael, would you like to make a statement on behalf of the bid?
Sure, yeah. Thank you for the board's time, Chairwoman Joyce and members of the board. We've appreciated your review of all the various requests for cannabis businesses and modifications in the downtown area, and the consideration that you've given to the way in which the business environment functions in downtown. We're here because the existing temporary license that was issued appears to have been issued without restrictions. And so the operator, since June 1st, since the beginning of operations, has not abided by the license restrictions that were agreed to. It was on the fourth day of operations that the bid received a request to deviate from the agreed upon restrictions. I'm not sure there's been ample time for there to be an understanding of the impacts on the restrictions that were agreed to by the various parties, and we believe they should remain in place until there's an opportunity to understand sort of the impact that they have on the business.
Great, thank you, Chairwoman Joyce.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I get the timeline correct. Mr. Evans, we allowed you to open up last month, correct? Before we were
June 1st.
Conditions, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Because we didn't have a quorum for the hearing in June, and we still allowed you to open up.
If to my understanding, I was a little confused in terms of the protocol, but we did receive the approval to open, and then we received the subsequent email that there was going to be this hearing. The email worked in conjunction because right after we opened up and we realized that we were in this kind of problematic situation.
Let me just
our attorney.
You knew in June that we were waiting for you to finalize the conditions with the bid, correct? When you opened?
I believe, I knew that there was a hearing. I didn't necessarily know in terms of the administrative side of things, why we were allowed to open up and then there was a second hearing.
Okay, you received permission from this board to open up in June while your conditions with the bid were not finalized, correct?
Correct, that is factual.
Okay, I'm just trying to get the facts down for myself. We didn't have a hearing in June because we didn't have a quorum. Despite that, we allowed you as a businessman to open up. And you are aware that we were waiting for you to finalize the conditions with the bid, one of them being not to sell pre-rolls. That was always on the table with the bid when you're in your discussions, correct?
I knew that that was a restriction placed on us. I did not realize that this period was for us to finalize those conditions.
Okay, I'm just confused. At every point when you appeared before the board, we understood that you had to finalize conditions with the bid. Did you not understand that?
I did not understand that.
Okay.
We reached out to the board at the beginning of June, and I think my attorney
I'm not talking about June. We were never having a hearing in June. We didn't have a quorum. I'm talking back September 2021, October 2021, when we have an email from your attorney saying that the restrictions and conditions were fine. A letter from the bid in January 2022 saying that they were still working on the conditions. So are you saying you're surprised that the bid wanted you to not sell pre-rolls, and you're surprised?
No. It just in terms of an administrative sequencing of it.
Okay, why would you have sold them in June when we hadn't finalized that condition on your license? What made you think you had permission to do that when at every step of the way we expressed that we wanted you to finalize the conditions with the bid, and we knew one of those conditions, and you knew one of those conditions was no pre-rolls?
Yeah, again, I apologize for the confusion. We were working through our attorney, and again, we hired an attorney so that we would have this clarification. And if I had a misunderstanding, then that was my responsibility. But for some reason,
Just clarifying your HCA that was signed on January 22nd, 23. Does it mention conditions?
I believe it does.
So in your letter to us last night, you stated that some of your customers can't afford anything under $35.
Correct. The customers will come in, they'll see the sign that says there's a minimum purchase, and they'll turn around and say, I'm going to Ascend or I'm going to Apex.
And your location is within the bid, correct?
It's within the bid. Unfortunately, based on the size of downtown Boston, Apex is 2 blocks away. Ascend is a little.
Their community groups too. So just talking about you here. So you're within the bid. Patriot Care is within the bid. You got the bid support for your application. Okay, I don't have any other questions at this time.
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes, do you have any questions?
Not at this time, because the chairwoman just really went over the same things that I was actually keying on. So no.
Commissioner Camacho?
Yes, my questions to Mr. Evans is that you said that you're having trouble meeting payroll, but are you meeting payroll?
No, we are not. We have not been profitable since we opened.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, thanks, Jasmine. Mr. Evans, given your experience in terms of Pure Oasis in Roxbury, and then thinking through sort of what the agreements you made to open this one downtown, as you're thinking about like your business model, did you not think that this may have been too restrictive? And
I think that the hard part is that when we opened and seeing the low numbers of people that were coming into the dispensary, and then needing every single customer to be able to meet the demands, and to see someone walk in and then to walk out, it's jarring, you know, because we have staff, we don't want to lay off staff. We have rent, probably some of the highest rent in the city. So there were variables that we, you know, didn't necessarily expect. And then, you know, when someone looks at you and they say that they're going down the street, or knowing that there are new dispensaries opening up in the neighborhood, these are things that we didn't anticipate going sideways. And so, you know, it's kind of a desperate situation.
Can I say a quick word, commissioners? These provisions that Pure Oasis agreed to were presented to them because they were identical to the conditions that Patriot Care had previously signed with the bid. So they're identical provisions. What's different is that Patriot Care is in a much different financial situation than Pure Oasis, but at the time, it was clear that the bid wanted uniformity with both dispensaries. I'm not sure Pure Oasis really had much room to negotiate, and I'm also not sure that Pure Oasis was aware that a mere stone's throw away, multiple shops would open that would not have these conditions. Thank you.
Is there any other comments from our commissioners? No. Would the bid or Kobe like to make any final statements?
I would just
No,
offer
I think
briefly. Oh, go ahead, Kobe.
Yeah, no, I think that, you know, going forward, we love the opportunity to work with the bid and have, you know, open communication directly with members of the organization. As a new business downtown, we love the opportunity to be a part of the bid and work directly with them. We echo their concerns. One of the nuances of the business is that, especially in having experience in Grove Hall, is that we haven't seen some of these concerns in terms of smoking in public, in as much as our customers are generally the type that obey the law. And so they want to be in a safe environment that is structured. And so they're not the kind that's going to flout the law and walk around smoking in public because they want to purchase what they're looking to purchase and go home or go wherever they're trying to be, but they don't want to go back to work smelling like they've been smoking. So we do share the bid's concerns. But in the years that we've been opening in Grove Hall, we just haven't seen these issues present themselves where people are smoking in public and causing a nuisance.
Thank you. Mr. Nichols.
Yeah, I would just offer briefly, you know, what we've asked for is just to return to the licenses, to the restrictions that we all agreed upon. We haven't yet had an opportunity to see how they do impact the business. I think the one thing that today, to me, perhaps is disingenuous is that the restrictions that were put in place haven't been honored since the business opened on June 1. And so it's not our view that customers have been turned away for purchases below the $35 threshold, or because they are seeking pre-rolls, because both of those conditions have been allowed at the business since its beginning. So we believe that we should revert to the restrictions that were asked to be put in place, that the business agreed to. And to Kobe's point, we would absolutely commit to an ongoing dialogue with the business to understand the impacts that those have. But we all agreed upon those being the initial conditions for starting the business, and we do believe they should be honored.
Yeah, point of clarification, they were initially in place, point of clarification.
Okay. Thank you. If no additional comments from the board members, they'll take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Our final item is an informational hearing. The applicant is Ziprun Inc. DBA Ziprun. The license premises 1170 William T. Morrissey Boulevard, Dorchester. The license type is a marijuana courier and delivery operator license. And the hearing is for, the board is holding the informational hearing to address concerns about the signage posted posted at the licensed premise. Is the licensee, yeah, oh, 1 second. Anna, you have your hand raised, sorry.
Sorry, are we not allowed to speak on the previous case?
It was just, that wasn't, if you would like to on behalf of the counselor, does he want to provide some form of testimony?
Yeah, we would like to provide some comments about this application.
Please go ahead. And just for the record, this is for Pure Oasis, not Zip Run.
Yeah, Pure Oasis, yeah. Hi, everyone. Ana Calderon from Council President Flink's office. The counselor also sent in a letter about this matter earlier today. The counselor would like to make clear that he's opposed to any license conditions that do not adhere to the HCA and the commitments that were worked on with the community during the public process. Council President Flynn would like to respectfully request that the Boston Cannabis Board move forward with Pure Oasis license with the restrictions that were agreed upon with the community. He intends to stand by his support if Pure Oasis can demonstrate that they are committed to the conditions as set forth in the HCA. He's concerned about the precedent of operators not fulfilling those agreements made with neighbors and key stakeholders during the community process. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Sorry about that. All right, now we will move to Zip Run. I will read it again. So the applicant is Zip Run Inc., DBA Zip Run. The license premises 1170 William T. Morrissey Boulevard, Dorchester. The license type is a marijuana carry and delivery operator license. And the board is holding this informational hearing to address concerns about signage that is posted at the license premise. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Gabriel Vieira. Good afternoon. Am I able to speak?
Yep, go ahead.
Great. Good afternoon, esteemed members of the Boston Cannabis Board. I'm Gabe Vieira, CEO and co-founder of Zip Run. First, I'd like to address the verbiage use of cannabis on our awning. It was an honest mistake. As previously stated, we are committed to removing all cannabis reference from our signage. To reiterate, the cost of replacing the awning is greater than $20,000. At this time, our company does not have the positive cash flow to afford fixing the signage without putting our business at risk. As the first social equity delivery operator in the city of Boston, we are trying to be trailblazers in this industry, especially due to the lack of minority ownership in the mass cannabis market. Currently stating we have 35 plus employees that are from disenfranchised communities, and we must continue to make sure we employ and empower our local communities. As you may know, the delivery operator model is a hard business to create positive cash flow from, as we still deal with the 2-to-1 driver rule, effectively doubling our operating expenses, along with other regulations that have made it hard for businesses like ours to succeed. Unfortunately, there are a couple of delivery operators that have already gone down due to the constraints. In light of that, we expect to have the necessary cash flow in October, November to comfortably replace the awning. Again, my team and I are committed to replacing the cannabis verbiage. We have completed our redesign of the signage by replacing cannabis for recreational. We just need to get it approved by the BPDA. We believe we have a path forward to building a sustainable business while strengthening our commitment to the community by removing and replacing the references to cannabis in our signage. We are committed to keeping the board up to date on our monthly progress, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chairwoman Joyce.
Thank you. I drive by your place every single day, so I'm reminded that the sign is still there. What about taking the sign down and having no sign?
That, unfortunately, we tried that. That still costs money to do so because you have electrical systems that are behind that cannot be. So when you take that signage off, there's electrical system set up to make sure that sign is illuminated at nighttime. If you take that down, those electrical systems will now be out in the open. If it rains, those can be affected. So you'd essentially have to detangle that as well. So the cost to doing that is easily greater than $10,000. It makes sense to take down the billboard all at once. Awning all at once. I would love to do it right now, but if we did spend that money, it would hurt our business and we'd be at risk. Like I said, we are committed to replacing it. It was an honest mistake.
Okay, I just take issue with it being an honest mistake, because Gabe, you were before us in December, correct, when we voted on this? December 2021, going back now 2.5 years. I'm just saying,
Yep.
you put a lot of time into this as members of the Cannabis Board, and we understand you do too. And now we're taking more time 2.5 years later to discuss something that you made a promise to the board about. You actually said specifically, we deliver discreetly and will build upon the security gate that surrounds the build to ensure very little visibility. In addition, we don't promote cannabis on our vehicles nor the building. So what kind of honest mistake was it? Who ordered the sign? Who put it up? At what point were you like, wow, big mistake?
Yeah, so when I was going through
drive
the,
by it every day, and it's disturbing to me that, and disrespectful to the work of the board, that you're telling us this was an honest mistake, and now it's going to be October until you can take it down at the very least.
if you wouldn't mind giving me a second, we had went back and forth via email, I believe a couple months ago, and in that email, I had stated that the goal is to take it down in October, November. So this is not something that just came about now in July. I was trying to be as transparent.
That's fine. I understand that. I don't understand the honest mistake on your part.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, in all
And then
honesty,
you got a grant from the city for what, $30,000? And you're not using that to take your sign down?
so
That you promised the community and you promised this board that you would not put up? Explain to me how that's an honest mistake.
if I could speak about the grant,
Our job is to approve an establishment, and that includes making sure you follow through on certain things. So how did this honest mistake happen? At what point were you like, oh geez, I forgot I wasn't going to put a sign up that said cannabis with lights on it?
so to quickly hint on the 30K grant, when you apply for the 30K grant, and I believe we did so, I hope someone could correct me on this, either January or probably last November, we're expected to detail what that grant will be used for. That grant was to be used for construction payments, and that's exactly what we used it for. We did say in that letter that we went back and forth on 2 months ago that we would set aside 5,000 of that 30K to go towards the grant.
I appreciate that. Let's get back to December 15th, 2021, when you told this board you weren't going to put a sign up and it would only be discreet. Let's just talk about that. Because again, we work really hard. It's now 2:40 in the afternoon. We had to add this to our agenda because we didn't get answers we wanted. So we're here for an informational session. I appreciate your apology. I'd like to come up, find something else that's quicker than October so that every time I drive by, I'm not reminded that you came before the board and were dishonest with what you were doing with the signage.
And to reiterate, I do appreciate you taking your time today, yourself and the fellow commissioners. This is a very unfortunate circumstance. It was an honest mistake, as I said before. How can we rectify this prior to October, November? From a cash flow standpoint, we cannot move a position from there. If there is another grant that is come about, because I know this is a new fiscal year for the city of Boston, potentially that can help.
The city should pay for taking down your sign. What about just unplugging the electrical stuff and ripping down the sign? Have no sign. It's too bad.
What about just covering the word cannabis with some of that self-sticking opaque tape or something? Just cover cannabis. You told us you were not going to do that. We gave you this license based on your testimony, your honesty, and I'm frustrated because now you're sitting here and you're trying to talk to us like we're stupid. We all know what happened in that hearing. You promised that you weren't going to do that. That was one of the major factors with that community about you not getting that location, was that they did not want that advertised. They fought you tooth and nail, and we fought for you. And then you go up and you disrespect us by putting the cannabis word right on the awning. It's very simple to get some kind of adhesive that's opaque and cover up the word cannabis until you can successfully remove it professionally.
Are you, yeah, so once again, I'm not trying to speak, sorry if I'm coming off rudely, I've never done that throughout my time of speaking with all the commissioners of BCB. So if it's coming off like that, I do apologize. I just wanted to make sure I came here as respectful as possible. Putting an adhesive on the signage, while that potentially may work, it creates an eyesore. That's something that you could potentially understand. That, put it like this, I would love to reconvene and talk about covering the signage. You made reference of some sort of tarp that we can put over it. That's something we can work on. If you can, we'll figure it out and get back to you and reconvene if possible within the next week or so, if possible. Yeah, if we can do that.
Sign taken down or covered within a week. It's now June. I'm confident you've thought about it before this hearing.
Oh, 100%. We definitely did. In our path, the big thing that we spent majority of our time thinking about is how can we actually remove this sign at the cheapest rate. We've even talked to the builder to see if he would allow us like 90-day terms so we can pay him back, but do the work for free. We tried that. That didn't work. But yes, I'll speak with our team, the owners of our building, and see how we can best rectify this issue. This is not something that I wanted to create a further issue upon. As I said before, it was an honest mistake. I do appreciate everyone that was up here that helped me throughout the process, getting us to become the first delivery operator in the city of Boston. I appreciate that. And I appreciate everyone's concerns on this call, and we will make sure we communicate with you as we have done so the past 6 months, and we'll go from there.
Mr. Vieira, this is Commissioner Camacho. From what I've heard, I don't think you understand the gravity of the situation. In good faith, we believed you and that you understood not only our conditions, but also the CCC's condition on advertisement. Additionally, you said that you can take the sign down professionally, but contingent on cash flow either in October or November. You know, I can go to Home Depot right now and paint that sign over. So there are, you know, steps you can take to mitigate the situation.
Yeah, I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Vieira, Commissioner Smith. So just quickly thinking about it, this has come up, this is maybe the third, fourth time. What would be the ramifications to your business if that sign becomes an eyesore, as you said? Like, you've thought about it, but it'll be an eyesore. Like, what would be the ramifications to you if it's an eyesore? Will it really impact your business?
Yes, I believe so. When we first launched, the property here had a raggedy siding, had raggedy roofing, and I think that facade plays a big part in if the community that drives by our building, if they deem it to be operational or not. Because if a building looks old and decrepit, most people are not going to think that business is currently in operations, right? So for us, by putting something over that sign, making it look makeshift, it very well could have an impact on our business. Now, I'm not telling you that for a fact. I do believe that's the case. We're doing our part as community members to make sure we clean the facade of this building, such as cutting the grass every so often, potting flowers, and eventually fixing our fence moving forward. So yes, I do believe it would have an impact on our business. But like I said,
I appreciate that, but you're a delivery business, right? So it's specialized. So it's not like the public has to come there all the time.
100%. We are a delivery business, but still having signage on our building that lets people know that we are an actual cannabis or delivery business for that matter. It's just like a retail establishment having whatever their name is, and the product that they sell, right? I think it's still an advantage for us to have signage that lets people know we're in business. Because if we just had this building without signage, and now we don't have the money to put forth to fixing the awning, what money will we have for other marketing opportunities in the city of Boston to really get the word out? So I think for us, especially from a disadvantaged position, as you know, delivery operators and delivery couriers alike have to go through, any little bit of help that we can get in assistance, marketing wise, is beneficial for us because it keeps us open that much longer. I don't
Yeah.
want to be a social equity company that opens up and then closes, and that's all I'm trying to avoid.
I think, thank you for that. We understand. And so it's not, but I don't want to keep everybody on all afternoon, but I do have to go back to this question. Our chairwoman asked. You also kept referring to this was an innocent mistake in terms of making this obviously very expensive sign. So like, I want to understand like the innocence behind it. Like someone just printed the wrong thing and put it up the same day. Nobody reviewed it. Nobody in the business. Look, I mean, is it just innocence? Like, we'll just print this right here and just put it out.
No,
Like,
definitely.
where did it go wrong?
No, definitely not. I could speak on this, and I'm sure many other cannabis operators can also speak on this, but going through the construction licensing process takes a long time. Obviously, this is our first time going through that, my first time specifically managing this process. It did slip through the cracks. We were dealing with the BPDA, the ZBA, the BCB at all one time, along with the CCC. So it unfortunately slipped through the cracks. Like I said, we're willing to fix it. We want to justify the situation. And that's truly, in my mind, in my co-founders' minds, and our stakeholders' minds, the best we could be doing by our community. We've even, as fellow community members, have attended the Port Norfolk Civic Association meetings countless months. We've spoken with them. They've grown to love us, the co-founders, and our business. And we're just trying to continually play our part as uplifting community members.
So it just got missed. I think that's what
100%. Honestly.
Okay. So somebody designed it, somebody looked at it, and then between design, printout, and putting up, it got missed. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Any other additional comments from our commissioners? No? All right. Thank you, Gabe. We'll be in touch as far as
Thank you.
next.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Those were all the matters before the board today. The board's voting meeting will take place next Wednesday, July 19th at 1 p.m. Information to access the voting agenda will be on our website, boston.gov/cannabis. Again, the record will be kept open until next Tuesday, January 18th at 5 p.m. Thank you all for attending and enjoy the rest of your evening.